Boyfriend upset after I asked him to stop texting my friend. Now he says I'm being controlling. Feels like I'm losing trust, but I just want boundaries respected. Over the weekend, I invited my friend, let's call her Emma, to meet me and my boyfriend of 11 months out to the bar we were hanging around with a couple of his friends. She shows up after pre-gaming pretty hard by herself and things are good. Everyone is having fun and mingling. Emma and my boyfriend have met previously, but in situations where it was mainly my friend group, so they haven't had much of a chance to interact one-on-one. They were chatting to one another, and I was chatting to one of his friends closely. I get a tap on my shoulder, and Emma asks if she can have his number because she asked him to send her a souvenir while he and I were abroad and needed to give him her address note. She had already asked me personally before this evening, to which I said of course, thinking nothing of it at the time, and after a few drinks myself I said it was completely fine. However, I am deeply reconsidering my lack of hesitation in permitting this. Emma and I share a somewhat difficult past. Almost 2 years ago, Emma had slept with the guy I was interested in, and yes, she knew about it. When I had asked her if she could stop reaching out to guys, she said of course, but continued to go over to his apartment and spend hours there, sometimes nights. This caused a huge rift in our friendship and my trust for her. There have been other instances where she has crossed boundaries of mine, but that has been the most significant by far. The day after we went, and they exchanged numbers. I spoke with her the next morning just to casually recap the evening since my boyfriend and I left the group in. Emma had continued to go out with his friends, her first time meeting any of them. She said it was fun, and that the guys stayed out with her for 2 more hours after we left. We speak for a good 40 minutes and hang up. After hanging up, I had repeated the same thing to my boyfriend and filled him in since he was curious how the rest of the evening went for everyone. Not 5 minutes after recounting the events of last night to my boyfriend does her name pop up onto his phone and keeps popping up. My boyfriend shows me I didn't ask to see. We are just very open, and she said the way I had to remember who this was, and then goes on to tell him the rest of her evening and how she liked his friends. She continues to show him what she had saved him in her phone as just very much things that don't really need to be said. He responds as he thinks nothing of it because I haven't explained Emma's and I's history. All that being said, am I the AAF if I explain to my boyfriend our history? And how her texting him asking him to send her a souvenir makes me uneasy as I don't have much trust in her to not cross boundaries. Or should I just leave it be, and if something more concerning is exchanged, confront it then?
Next story.
Ditching the wedding, I was maid of honor, and after the bride tried to set me up with the best man. Now she's calling me selfish for ruining her big day. I was supposed to be the maid of honor at a wedding a few weeks ago. I ended up just leaving and going home to my boyfriend of 6 years after the bride and groom tried to set me up with the best man. When my friend got engaged last year, I was excited for her, and even more excited when she asked me to be the maid of honor. As invites went out, though, she asked me to not bring my boyfriend to the wedding. I was really upset about that, but my boyfriend talked me down, telling me that weddings were expensive and they were probably trying to keep the guest list down, and they didn't really know him, so it would be fine for me to go without him. That made sense to me, so I didn't say or do anything after that, and just continued with helping as I could as the maid of honor. Nothing else really concerning happened again until a couple of days before the wedding. The bride asked me to give the best man a ride to and from the wedding, which was about a 4 hours drive. I thought it was just part of it, as he was a veteran and had his own issues surrounding that. So I gave him a ride up to the Airbnb that we were staying at before the wedding. The whole time he tried to make conversation that was just weird to me, and I was just not into it and just trying to my best to be nice to him. At the Airbnb with everyone, I immediately noticed things were off. All of the other bridesmaids had their boyfriends there, and things were really awkward when I found out I was in a room with the best man. The next day before the rehearsal dinner, the bride and groom cornered me in a room to say that the best man was an incredible guy and that I was blowing him off without really giving him a chance. I told him, well, of course not. I have a serious long-term boyfriend, which y'all specifically told me not to bring. Then the bride cut in and told me, well, that really isn't that serious since he hasn't proposed in so long. I argued back that was because we were both still in school. We continued arguing for a little while before I finally just said, forget, I'm going home. I got called all sorts of awful names going out of the room and packed up and left. I got a lot of calls on the way home, which I ignored until my boyfriend called. Apparently the bride called him and told him I just left for no reason, and he called to check in on me. I told him everything that had happened, and he was kind of dumbstruck by it all. Anyways, after the wedding, I've had the bride, the groom, and a lot of their friends call or message me, telling how horrible of a person I was for just leaving the night before the wedding for no reason. None of which were receptive to my side of things, and it's starting to worry me that maybe I overreacted by just leaving like that. Drive. I left a wedding because the couple-to-be were mad. I wasn't giving the best man a chance, even though I'd been with someone else since I was 14.
Next story.
Not believing my daughter's lie and canceling our weekend together. Now she says I ruined everything, but I feel like she needs to learn accountability. Last week I went to use my Bluetooth headphones. They were gone out of my bag where they always are. I asked my daughter if she had them. She's always taking my stuff without asking. I've told her all she has to do is ask whenever she needs to borrow my stuff. That's all I ask in return, because I know I won't get it back as she'll deny it. She said no. I was skeptical. She guilt-tripped me, saying I never believe her at sec, which she's not wrong. I don't, as she has a history of lying. She's constantly lying to me, Even small insignificant things, it's frustrating. I felt awful and apologized, just assumed I'd left them in the car or somewhere else. I wanted to believe her. Anyway, yesterday I was in her room looking for something I knew she'd borrowed which I needed back. I didn't go through her stuff or anything of the sort. I respect her privacy. Noticed her makeup bag on the floor and had a look in there for my moisturizer, and there are my headphones. I was not happy. Decided I'd wait to talk to her when I picked her up from her course. When she gets in the car, I tell her I found them and ask why she'd lied. She keeps saying she doesn't know how they got there exact. I asked to see her Bluetooth pairings on her phone. As if it's not paired, I'd believe her. She wouldn't. We argued about it for at least 10 minutes. She kept up the argument that I wouldn't believe her either way, which I told her no, that's not true. She just refused to show me. She wouldn't budge. She ended up crying, and I could tell she was very stressed. I kept asking to see the pairings, that if she hadn't used them, they wouldn't be in her phone. She ended up getting out of the car and walking off. I watched her, and unsurprisingly, she got on her phone straight away. I gave her a couple minutes for myself and her to calm down, then asked her to get back in the car. I asked again to please just show me her pairings. I wasn't surprised when she showed me straight away. I knew she deleted it when she got out. It's just so obvious to me. I said to her, "You flat out refused to show me before you had a chance to delete it. You were in obvious distress about showing me, but as soon as you had the chance to delete it and get back in the car, you show me straight away. I wasn't born yesterday, but now I'm the asshole because I said I'd believe her and now I don't. I'm at my wit's end with her constant lies and deceitful tendencies. I want to believe her, I truly do. It just doesn't make sense for her to not know about them being in her makeup bag when she had makeup on when I picked her up. I'm meant to be taking her and her friend away for a trip this weekend to hot pools and a bungee jump. I want to cancel it if she doesn't own up to the truth."
Next story.
Unintentionally ruining my sister's marriage by catfishing her husband to expose his infidelity. Now my family blames me for everything, but I thought I was helping her see the truth. I'm at a loss here, and I need some perspective. I'm 27F, very close to my sister, Anna 32F. She's been married to her husband, Mark 34M, for 4 years, and I've always admired their relationship. Mark is charming, funny, and everyone in the family loves him. But I've always had this nagging feeling that something was off. It started with small things, Mark making subtle, suggestive comments about my appearance when Anna wasn't around or messaging me late at night to talk about random stuff. I brushed it off as him just being friendly or maybe a bit tipsy. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it and potentially ruin my sister's happiness over something that could just be my paranoia. Last month, things escalated. Mark texted me, asking if I wanted to meet up for drinks without Anna knowing. That was the last straw. I didn't want to confront him directly because I knew he'd deny it, and I'd end up looking like the bad guy. So I came up with a plan, one that I'm regretting now. I created a fake social media profile of a girl I'll call Emma. She was a typical, attractive girl with interests that I knew Mark was into. I followed him, and he followed back immediately. I started liking his posts, commenting casually, and within a few days, he slid into Emma's DMs. Long story short, over the span of a few weeks, Mark was flirting heavily with Emma. He was sending explicit messages, telling her how unhappy he was in his marriage, and even suggested they meet up. I was disgusted but also heartbroken for my sister. I screenshotted everything and saved it as proof. I debated for days on what to do, but eventually I decided I couldn't keep this from Anna. I showed her the messages. At first, she was in disbelief, accusing me of trying to sabotage her marriage. But once she calmed down and really looked at the screenshots, she broke down. Anna confronted Mark, who denied everything at first, saying someone must have hacked his account. But when Anna mentioned Emma by name, he went pale and admitted to everything. He said he was just bored and curious, but swore he'd never actually cheat on her. Now, Anna is staying with me, and she's filed for a divorce. My family is in chaos. My parents are furious at me for meddling and blame me for breaking up their marriage. They say I should have just minded my own business and let Anna figure things out on her own. Even Anna, despite being grateful I told her, sometimes looks at me with this sadness, like I'm the one who brought all this pain into her life. Mark has been sending me angry messages, blaming me for ruining his life and calling me a manipulative bee. Part of me feels guilty, like I shouldn't have gone as far as I did. But the other part of me is relieved that Anna knows the truth. So, Aita for creating a fake profile to expose my sister's husband?